Hello, everyone. I'm Tyler, and we're coming together with a group from the Gauntlet. A wonderful group. If you ever have a chance to go out and find them, Gauntlet is some of the very best role players you're ever going to find. You can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com. We have Facebook presence. There are a lot of ways to find us, and you will be glad you did. I'm wearing my Gauntlet shirt. Awesome crew, wonderful gamers, and I have the pleasure of having some of the very best here with me today. We're going to be playing a game from the Gauntlet fanzine, the Codex. We're playing a game from Codex-Neon called Mechanical Oryx, which was written by Grant Howitt as part of the 2017 200-word RPG challenge, and he won with it. It's a very interesting game. If you happen to see our first one, well, you will kind of understand what we're doing. And if you haven't, you should go back and watch that, and then then you'll know what we're doing. But we're playing this mixed up a little bit with Maze Rats, which is a very different kind of game. It is a fairly minimalistic and normally kind of a Dungeon and Dragons sort of game. But we're using the original Mechanical Oryx to kind of deal with our high-end godlike powers. And we're using Maze Rats to deal with more of the day-to-day sorts of things. Our players have each got an amazing mechanical creature that is a protector of their people in a world that is sort of passed by. And in our game, our people live on an island called Eden. And for ages uncounted, they have been isolated after some sort of horrible cataclysm, protected by the Mechanical Oryx. And over this long period of time, they've, developed their own culture, their own sort of progress for themselves. And in a lot of ways, the old days have, they've forgotten them. But always the reminder is their protectors, the Mechanical Oryx, who have immense power, immense capabilities, and have watched over them this entire time and helped them grow and build. And we're going to introduce our cast of Mechanical Oryx. And I think I'll start on my right. So, Patrick, would you be so kind as to introduce your Oryx?
So let's see. I'm playing Karku, who's an Oryx of dust and sort of breaking things down and sifting things out of them, redistributing old things across the island. He's part of the reason this island is so fertile is the carbon and minerals that his presence is pulling up from the soil and sort of spreading around. He lives up in a sort of mountainy, smaller volcano corner of the island with his tribe, who are the Kaolin. Let's see, he's got a little magic. He's really hooked into like dust and nano swarm sort of stuff. And he's very old-fashioned and sort of like still very godlike with his people. Where I think some of the others may have moved to a closer or more personal relationship with their tribe. He still very much speaks through the like priestesses and goes through the order of things and remains a bit aloof from his tribe. But the tribe themselves, they're constantly digging up relics of the past, artifacts and mechanical things, and experimenting with them and bringing back little tiny sparks of the past scientific world.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Lou, would you introduce us to your Oryx?
Yep. So my Oryx is called Mahalia. We talked at the beginning of the last session in terms of what they spread into the world. So like Patrick's Oryx is spreading dust. out into the world as a cool thing. I guess dust and technology. My Oryx is she's spreading knowledge into the world, but in particular like creative and aesthetic knowledge, because that's what she's, I guess, maybe been tasked at some stage with preserving. So she's a kind of mobile library of creative knowledge. And we also discovered last time she's got even like more knowledge hidden deep within the earth somewhere as part of one of her modules that she's able to interact with. And we've seen so far her use a module that which is kind of this empathic singing for affecting the emotions of all of the humans and Oryxes maybe across the island. What else is interesting? Her people, what did I call them? They are called the Tala. Yeah, they're all very focused on creativity and are also colorblind, which is interesting. So she's I think she's actually decked out quite colorfully, but with all these fabrics and stuff laid over her. But it's more about the shape and contrast, which is why they found Patrick's Oryx particularly beautiful, because I think was Kaku kind of like monochromatic or something. Like
yeah, he's all just sort of like dark grays, but it's all different textures of like matte and gloss that sort of pattern out to make his look.
So they were all pretty in awe when he came walking through their land. Yeah, and I think one thing I need to refresh is I've got written here that Kaku offended me. I remember we were talking, we kind of had our communication and understood each other a bit, but do you remember what it was, Patrick, about how you particularly offended me?
So I'd come down asking you about knowledge of like the nuclear stuff and the things I was remembering, but not really having a lot of depth on. And we talked, and then we both rolled very badly on it. It sort of came off poorly. And I think the flowing in your direction, it was sort of a thing of you didn't have an immediate answer, and I almost came off as dismissive to you of like, you don't have the answer. If you come up with something, come see me or whatever. But
yeah, but you probably don't have it, and if you do have it, you have to come to me. Yeah, that's kind of what it was. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. And Greg, why don't you introduce your Oryx? And by the way, if I happen to stop broadcasting a picture for a moment, it's so you don't have to see me blowing my nose on camera.
Well, that's very courteous of you. My Oryx is well beloved. My Oryx spreads potable water and sort of lives along the sand and the beaches. And my people are known as Tribe Well Deep, and they live on sort of canoe houseboats that travel around the island. And they're very traditional. My people are a very traditional tribe. Where others have sort of embraced or gone back to find older technologies and change and develop new things. Tribe Well Deep is very much attached to this sort of no technology. They're Luddites in a way. They abstain from any new things. But one of my modules is that I have a temple inside of me. So my people are sort of very religious. They view me as a god in a very personal way, because they all come and they pray within me to me. And I remember that sort of Karku is sort of my polar opposite, in that Karku is attached to building new things and creating a new world and developing new technologies, and Well Beloved is sort of attached to the idea that those old technologies brought about our way, and we need to be Luddites and not technology will be the death of us all, is sort of Well Beloved's outlook there. I also have a flotation module, which I use to go out and find Timo, the orca, not the Oryx, the orca of another tribe, and that didn't go so good. Yeah, my people didn't listen to me, and we lost the orca, but we got the people, and sort of wanted to retcon. I didn't necessarily say this last time, but I was thinking when the Well Deep tribe goes up the mountain, we definitely brought Timo's tribe with us. I don't think I ever said that explicitly. That's the only thing I remember from the last video, but I wanted to make a quick note about that.
Awesome. Okay.
And Well Beloved is like a ceramic, where other Oryx are sort of metal, because Well Beloved would corrode in the water. Sort of this very tall, white ceramic and surgical tubing Oryx. And that's what we love.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Ari, will you introduce us to your Oryx?
Yes, I'm playing Khitan, the Oryx of the Swarm. My tribe is called the Antar. Khitan is this great beetle that...
Oops.
Sorry, to be DC.
You broke there a moment. You had told us what he looked like, and we're going from there.
Maybe having some connection problems. Let me know if it happens again. Yeah, so Khitan is this great beetle with very long legs. His tribe at one time treated, so he communicates through insect swarms, and spreads them around. His priests started to use these insects instead of for ritual purposes, for basically drugs, the psychoactive properties. So it's created a problem between him and his followers. Let's see. He's got his modules are earth trembling, so he can cause the earth to shake, and psychoactive secretions. That's another one of the things. And let me see if there's anything else I missed here. He did make contact with the people of Smarg. I think they sent a group of people to the island, and he helped escort them. Are they going up to I'm trying to remember. So my people live in the caves on the slopes of the volcano. Is that where they were headed, or was there some other rendezvous place that everyone was going?
The people of Timo. The orca.
Right.
Yes, they were traveling up with. They traveled up Well Beloved.
Yeah, I believe we were meeting at like sort of the
Caldera
Lake.
Yeah,
I think that was the concept that we're going for.
Right.
Yeah, and you had sent your
so.
priests down to meet with them, and so I imagine they're all coming back up together.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
I
yes.
also, sorry to jump in, I just got excited about something. I like the idea that chitin is like a how there's rhino beetles. I like the idea that you're like an Oryx beetle, like some sort of, because I like the idea that we're all like Oryxes in some way. That's kind of interesting on this island. So I'm totally picturing that you're like an Oryx beetle. Anyway, that's all I rudely wanted to interrupt.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe the priests also wear headdresses that are like various like shaped antlers, like beetle like.
If I remember correctly, your priests came down dressed as like black and white pseudo orca kind of robes when they.
Oh, right, as a gesture of
as a gesture of goodwill, which you got advantage on, which was a good idea.
Yeah.
All right. And so those are our 4 Oryx that are the protectors of Eden. I want to remind us all that we have the Gauntlet inclusivity policy in effect. Basically, it just means we're here to take care of each other. We're a friendly table. There's an open door policy if if there's any need. We also have the X card on the table, which if all of you know, but anyone watching, if you see this or we see something in chat, or you just say, hey, Tyler, I think I'd like to X that. I may ask for clarification. We'll go back. We'll reframe. We'll move on. It's for us all to make sure we're having fun. Something's problematic. Something makes you uncomfortable. Or, you just say, this just isn't fun. Feel free. It's here for all of our safety. So, last time we played, we developed a really interesting world, and we've heard a lot of it coming from each of the players here with these Oryx, each of you. And we had seen several weeks ago this massive light in the east, and the earth rumbled, and we've seen this horrible cloud roiling up from there, and there's been strange weather, and the sun's been dim because of all of this dust in the sky. And as was mentioned, we had a group of refugees, something that had not been seen in many, many lifetimes, that had been found out in the ocean, being protected and brought to the island by their mechanical being, their mechanical orca. And with its last bits of energy, it managed to bring them to you before circumstances meant that it descended into the ocean and was lost. Once these refugees were brought to the land, beloved, tried to include them, brought them into the temple within him, and his people, who were scared and didn't understand these new folks, had smashed one of their kind of holy relics, a thing of song. But Mahalia, sensing this thing being lost and hearing that music, had brought up a feeling of grief at its loss that covered the whole island. And in that moment, she brought that knowledge, that song back within her. So it was not lost. But also in that moment, the well-born and these travelers, these refugees, kind of came together and understood that they were, that they had more in common than they didn't. And the priests that came down from Kaiton opened up communications, and these people spoke of their land far to the east, a big place with quite a few tribes, people in it, and multiple mechanicals that were there protecting them. But that there had been this horrible cataclysm, this massive fire that had risen up, and a terrible bird that had risen on those flames called Smarg, which had, in the cataclysm of the explosion and with Smarg over the top of it, had destroyed many of these people. And as far as the followers of the Orca knew, they were the only ones who had escaped, getting on their boats and sailing to the west towards you. But they warned that Smarg would be coming. Our Oryx had decided that with this going on, that they should break what had become common and come together and speak. We had Mahalia and Karku have a conversation that we spoke about earlier, where Karku was asked for Mahalia to search through her knowledge, through her information of the past about this nuclear, this fallout, what is this is coming from? And Mahalia had found some information, seeing these images of protests and engines of destruction that came from this nuclear devices, this nuclear knowledge, protest songs of those who stood against it, and having found this information, was on her way to speak with Karku. Meanwhile, Well-Beloved had taken his people and the refugees and had gone to Chiton with Chiton's priests, because Chiton was opening up this communication, and they came together and sort of made the agreement that we have to work together. We must call some sort of council, but asked for a promise, an alliance in how this would be dealt with. Well-Beloved, why don't you tell us what it was that you said?
I had Chiton promise that that Chiton would back up Well-Beloved, because it's Well-Beloved's impression that Karku will attempt to use the new ways and the technology to battle this, and that the only way to win this battle would be to use the traditional ways, the ways things have always been. And,
Right.
And I believe Chiton made that promise.
It's a sensible proposal.
Yes.
Our people have survived for so long in these caves. They had no use of these modern amenities.
And I love that sort of inversion, as you're viewing the ancient technology that's resurfacing as the new ways, and the what the world has become since we were made as the old ways.
Yep, the old ways are the yep.
Excellent. And we had our very last scene was that huge roiling cloud and greenish lightning streaking through it far to the east, but moving towards our island of Eden. And out in the midst of that storm, our camera, maybe not you guys back at the island, but our camera had flown into the storm and heard the high-pitched screech of some great and vast bird. And so, let's hop into, I think we're going to start with Mahalia as you arrive at the borders of Karku's land. Karku, we saw before what was expected of those who come to Mahalia's borders. What is it that is expected when someone comes to yours, to the land of the Kaolin?
Who are you talking to? Because my people are the Kaolin, but Lou's people are the Tala.
Right, we've already seen what you had to do to get through that. I'm wanting to know what Mahalia is going to have to do when she gets to your borders.
Oh, gotcha. I think it's sort of a gift exchanging ceremony of things that were found or discovered or old or hidden or things like that. The Kaolin live to see old things brought to the light again. But they'll trade back as well.
Wonderful. All right then, Mahalia, as you arrive, what do you bring?
I just really love that that's what you asked, because I was planning on Mahalia being pissed off and just blasting through the just going straight past the exchange that she's meant to do. So I think there's probably I think that we see the Kaolin there waiting to do this exchange, and they've got all of their offerings and stuff. And then you hear this sound, and Mahalia comes walking out, but behind her there's a really big amount of the Tala marching with her, and they're playing this really strange music that nobody's ever heard before. They're singing in this strange tongue that nobody's ever heard, and to the audience, to us the audience, it's protest songs of the 70s. You know what I mean? They're singing Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan or something like that, but it's on all
That was exactly the song I was thinking.
Yes. Yeah, so I think they're singing these songs, and I think they've got like loomed versions of like protest placards that have these words on, they're maybe, I don't know if these people even really write that much anymore, but there's this strange script on these things, and instead of stopping, they just like march straight past, or attempt to march straight past the border. Yeah.
Rude.
Karku, you can certainly see this happening. What do you do?
I think I'm going to, in sort of like dust cloud nanoswarm form, I'm basically gonna pace their party for a while and try and figure out what's gotten into Mahalia and what she's doing. I certainly wouldn't presume to judge any of my fellow Oryx, but I did stand for nearly an entire week at her border.
All right, then. So I think it sounds like Mahalia comes straight through, heading towards the. Is it a high point that you normally are? That you stay, Karku, or is it like a pit where they dig? Usually, stay in.
Well, there's the village, which is sort of sprawling up at the feet of this mountain. But Karku himself, generally hangs out at the tallest, pointiest, most anime spot he can find.
All right. And so Mahalia and her people come in through the village and reach that foot of the mountains, as though waiting for you.
Yeah, I think Mahalia, I think, is one of the smallest Oryxes. She's very slight. She comes up, and I think to get up to the same height as Karku, she stands up on her like back legs, and then I think as she begins to speak, we see she does all of the same like gesturing, and you can tell from she's doing all of the like anger and fear gestures, so they're quite angular and aggressive, and I think she probably starts there's probably ways that she's meant to greet Karku as well that are the time-honored things, but I think instead, actually, maybe she puts her forehead in it is ritualistic. It's like a ritualistic head clash, an Oryx. She brings her head in, and I guess I wonder. I'm gonna try use my module. I'm gonna try use my I guess it could be either. I'm kind of more interested in blowing up my ability to empathically sing songs across the island. So I think I'm going to I think she's gonna try sing all of this knowledge like straight into Kaku's mind, like rather than explain it to him. She's just gonna like upload like huge amounts of knowledge into his head.
So yeah, I think you sort of like boldly, angrily stride forward, and Karku is forming like from the hoofs up out of this cloud of dust and bits that's swirling around. And he's just being very snide in the sense of like, oh, Mahalia, I had not expected. I forgot my voice. I had not expected to see you so soon. And he's sort of trying to lord your rudeness over you when you go into this like ritual headbutt maneuver right as the top of his head and his antlers are forming back together, and he's very formal, so he sees you starting this and he just instinctively goes into
Can't resist.
and so he becomes like solid right at the moment when their two heads touch.
Yes,
and you do your
cinematic.
Excellent. Well, then I think that's probably going to be a will to project this as clearly and as it's perfectly what you've learned into him.
Well, wouldn't this be an Oryx roll?
Do you think? It could be.
Doing his big module thing.
True. All right, then. Why don't we'll go ahead and do that. Do you think you're rolling in love or in hate?
Ooh. I like how a little bit arbitrary this is, you know what I mean? Because I guess love and hate's like it's a false dichotomy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's love and hate because I'm kind of thinking we're family, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. So I think.
I mean, you can just roll neutrally, but yeah, it does sound like you came in here with some sort of emotion going.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that she's pissed off at him, but she also really wants him to know this information, and she's probably scared as well.
All right. Well, you can just roll your 2d6, replace one of the 6 with your module, which will be a d8.
Okay, I'm gonna roll real dice here.
That's fine.
I got a 6 and a 2, and the 2 was on the d8.
Okay. So that's an 8. That will succeed.
And I'm totally gonna blow out my.
You don't have to. I mean, if you want to, you can, but you've succeeded.
But is there no does a 10 not matter in this context?
No, if you're doing your godlike powers, you just need a 7 or better. When you're doing the lower end magecraft one,
I just really want to blow out my thing anyway, so I'm going to do it fictionally.
That's perfectly fine. So you can even, with that sort of idea, you're really pushing this knowledge, this huge amount of stuff. Yeah. So why don't we have?
This is a major part of how she communicates too. So it's maybe it's through fear and desperation that she just uses this ability to.
I think that's awesome. Okay, so why don't you give us just describe kind of like a little montage of what you're forcing in. Then I'm gonna have you, Karku, describe how when you receive it, and then I'm gonna do my cut over to the other 2. So Lou, tell us the montage, what we see.
I think it's all that. It's kind of that old newsreel footage. So there's it's Pacific Islands having nuclear tests done on them, and then there's the middle of the picture of the Australian desert, and there's huge bombs going off, and they're moving Indigenous people off of their land so that they can blow shit up there. And then I think we see, we probably see land with signs on it, saying irradiated land, stay off. And there's a 2-headed squirrel running along a branch, and
I want to ask you. We're kind of seeing things of the past that are very much our world. Why don't you add something in that tells us why this was a danger and why it helped cause the cataclysm?
Why this, why the sorry, can you clarify what you?
Yes. Why this nuclear power? Why this was part of what caused the Great Cataclysm?
Yeah, cool. So I think we probably maybe we see yeah. So I think we see those kind of air traffic control like mapping things, and it's like there's you know, that classic Cold War, like there's just missiles coming here and missiles, like them disappearing. But then I think it moves away from that computer thing, and there's all these there's all Oryxes like on the ground, and they're like blasting missiles out of the sky and just fighting each other and messing each other up. And I think probably we see heaps of Oryxes like falling
I love it.
down on the ground and stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. Karku, this knowledge just floods into you. And of course, this is just a tiny piece of the massive amount of information that is thrown into you. How do you react, and what in this set of things strikes you as most terrifying?
I think it's the most terrifying is sort of just because I love the two-headed squirrel idea, but it's that sort of like idea of mutation. You know, Karku is aware. Even though the past is very different, Karku is sort of aware that this island, it's a more fertile, it's a more productive place than the world normally is, and adding in like weird rampant mutation into that would go really weird and bad really fast. But I think it's the fear is getting across. He had those visions, had those dreams of like the explosion on the far distant continent, the fire shooting up into the sky as this thing is coming washing towards us, and he had the sort of vague memories of fallout and things like that. So I think as soon as he forms up and their heads sort of come together and the big like CGI slow-mo special effects Fifth Element, like Lilu learning about the meaning of war sort of scene, he almost immediately shatters again, like dissipates into this huge cloud of dust which just sweeps over the mountain, the village around it, this whole area in a giant sort of shockwave. As this is sort of what I was planning on doing before, but this is much more fear motivated now rather than sort of calm planning. But he's using his module that like cycles up the deep things of the earth, because this nuclear energy, this fallout is coming towards us, and so he's desperately reaching for something hidden, something buried that we can use, bringing up something to turn against this threat.
All right. Do you think you're using a full Oryx thing there?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think this is another module. Not sure what to call it. I'll come up with a good name. But yeah, and...
Is it love, hate, or do you think this is just more of the function of you going in with this horrible knowledge, just going to search?
I think this is definitely like fear pushing into hate.
All right. Using a module, so you can change out one of your D6s for an 8, and you have 3d6 or 2d6 and an 8.
Fuel.
And a fuel, yes.
And it's not advantage, it's take all of them on this
Yes,
Oryx
take all of them,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So that's 13.
Did you roll any doubles?
I didn't. 2, 4, 7.
Oh. Then tell me, what is it you find?
I don't know. Can we cycle back and I'll tell you when we get back to it?
We'll cycle back to what you find, but I would love to hear, where do you find it? Where do we see that cloud sort of slide to? Got a thought on that? Or should we come back to
I
that?
think the most appropriate is because this mountain that my people are centered around is a smaller volcano than the one that's in the middle of our island. So it's obviously like right in the heart of that blasted out half mountain.
Beautiful. All
Can I
right.
do a one little thing also as we cross to the other
Sure.
guys? I was thinking I just want to see Mahalia try to use her module that she's just broken as Kirku like flies off. So I think like we've seen it on screen before. So like she goes to do this empathetic thing, and I think instead we just hear this like really lonely like woo, like up on the thing, but it doesn't spread out. It's just people look, but there's nothing kind of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think probably we see Karku's people are agitated. They saw their Oryx have this moment. Your people are coming in sort of feeling that same anger of you. You let out what normally would be this calming thing, and we still see their agitation.
Yeah, it probably just it still has a major effect, but it's not actually. It's just their own response.
Yeah, I love the sort of like idea that because we just heard that same sort of call out that before it had all these like after effects and deeper sonic resonance to it, and this time it's just like this very thin sort of shrill thing that doesn't have any of the reverb or stuff.
Yeah, it just hurts people's ears.
And we have sort of our, we talk about Oryx time being sort of stretched where we do these. So this meeting could have, we're in that nebulous, how long did they really communicate? Because up on the mountain, in the center of the island on the Caldera, we have Well-Beloved and Chiton who have been exchanging their thoughts over some longer period, some period of time as they were coming to an agreement. And I think in the distance you hear that kind of lonely sound of Mahalia. But I want to know, Ari, the people of the tribe, let's see, the Antar, while the two of you have been talking, what have they been doing?
Antar have been.
Oh, Ari, we're having trouble with you.
Yes. Yeah. Is it breaking up again?
It broke up a little bit there. Give it a shot again. I think you're fine. Well, I say that.
Not good. Still bad.
Not great. Maybe drop and rejoin. See if maybe that tightens it up a little.
On a second. I think I know what might be causing it. I'm going to rejoin in a moment.
Okay, cool. And while he's doing that, then I'll ask you, Greg, with you having brought up this kind of entourage with you, because you brought the entirety of your tribe?
I think we said it was just sort of the boat captains,
Mm.
and maybe some like support people. It's the higher ranking, but most of the Well Deep have remained back on the ocean. So it's the Timo tribe, the dozen or so people that we managed to save, and then it's the captains of the boats, and that's probably 40 some odd people.
Okay,
and they're probably really weirded out to not be on the ocean, although they've been traveling for a little while. But I imagine they still have very much like a sea leg unsteadiness on land, and
up so high.
Yeah, but they're fully decked out in their sort of battle regalia because what they saw from Timo was so unsettling. So they are fully prepared, and that might not come across that great if they're fully decked out in their war gear.
What's their war gear look like?
I think it's like chitinous, like sort of scavenged from different shellfish and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's bony, and they probably have some fairly wicked spears that they use for fishing that have, you know, like strange prongs that stick out in weird angles.
It's just almost like lobster or crab-like.
Yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So, Aaron, hopefully you're back and solid.
Yeah, hopefully it's better. Does it sound better? Look better?
It does sound better.
Okay, I think I fixed it. Okay, so my people are back on the slopes of the volcano, preparing this second part of this ceremony, this welcoming of these newcomers, trying to help them to shed their fears and see the prosperity that we have in the caves. And hopefully, since they no longer have their god to follow, that might entice them to see mine as one that's a good, you know, sort of secondary surrogate god, I guess you can call it.
Awesome. Okay, that's very neat. So you've come to them as, you know, with these priests. So it's already sort of this established idea of a priesthood that are, you know, probably promoting you in some ways. I seem like I always go to will, but I think I'd like to see a will roll out of your people as they're trying to kind of proselytize here to them.
Yeah, and if they could entice his people to come to the caves, I don't know if that's a thing you'd be interested in, but the caves have been redecorated to reflect sort of a pelagic theme. The insects are humming with the sounds of the sea, replicating like whale calls and things like that. And the decorations of the cave going into it are lit such that they have that sort of coruscating effect of the sunlight and the top of the sea, you know?
Oh, that's nice.
To really kind of draw his people in.
Now we're talking about the orcas. You're not trying to convert Well-Beloved's people, are you?
No, the Orca people, yeah.
Right, okay. Just making sure, because we might have a little battle there.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, that's fantastic. I think that gives you advantage.
Okay, so I'm rolling. It sounds like you.
Oh.
Did I cut out again?
You did cut out again.
Or is this an Oryx roll?
This sounds like it's your tribe doing something rather than you personally.
Okay.
So that'll be a Mage Rat's roll. So you're rolling, since you have advantage, you're rolling 3d6.
Okay.
Taking the best two.
Okay, and then which stat?
Will. You're adding will.
So 3d6 plus, and then we'll just add +2 afterwards. All right. Find the dice roller. Here it is. 3. I think it rolled. Can you guys hear me?
Let's see.
Okay, so I got a 3, 3, and a 1. Not very impressive. +2. So that's 8.
It's mage, which isn't going to get us there. I don't think that's going to get us there, as in converting them. But I think you're going to get a very positive response from them of being felt like they're welcomed. But you know, it's been a short enough time that they're still sort of mourning their mechanical orca. And so they're not. It's not like they're falling to becoming followers of you, but this welcome certainly makes them feel better and like they're a part of this. And honestly, since, you know, smashing their music box, the Wellborn have also been much nicer. So, you know, we're getting this sort of them feeling a little like they're being brought in.
Okay. The first steps, the initial steps.
Right.
Yeah.
So as the tribes are kind of coming together, Well-Beloved, the time the two of you have been talking, you know, this is stretched on as you've been conversing, but what are you saying to Chiton. It was very much you that we need to come together.
Yeah, I'm sort of urging the urgency of the situation, which I think is very out of character for Well Beloved. I think Well Beloved is typically a very calm and smooth Oryx to deal with, and that it's sort of unnatural for Well Beloved to be so frantic and so we need to solve this. We need to get the Oryxes. That the caves look pretty, but we need to get everyone together. We need to make a call, and I don't know exactly what what Well Beloved's sort of call to all of the Oryxes would look like. I sort of imagined like restarting waterfalls that
Yeah,
used
I
to
was
exist.
thinking something about water
So
would be cool.
yeah, so like maybe the drier stream beds that
Or
are
maybe
sort of
you make
ignored.
it rain and it doesn't usually rain out here.
Yeah, I think it's sort of just like I'm at the very top of of the mountain, so I just start shedding water, and it starts filling all the streams, and that's sort of a sign to the other Oryx that it's time to come to the top of the mountain.
All right, I certainly see that. And from here, looking at our island, there are lots of these stream beds, and so this water begins to flow off, and the mist is sort of rising off of you, and this moisture. As your people up here, Well Beloved, it's been, like I say, we have that stretch of time. It could have been days, but they have been up here and they're, so high up looking across, and they're often looking out to sea. Seeing it from this vantage point is so different from them. But you could feel this sort of anxiety, this sort of fear. And it begins to, just niggle at the edges of your attention. As they look out to the east, you could hear them praying to you. The storms come. The waves grow high. Well Beloved, protect your children. The seas, they come for us. And as you cast your eye over in a moment, you could see far, still miles away, a massive wave rolling towards the island.
Oh no.
And I think we'll take a break here.
Tyler.
Let's take 5 minutes. We'll get back, and everybody stretch out, grab a drink. See you shortly.
Nice.
Great.
I think we need to play Microscope together.
Oh yeah, I love that game. I'd really like to play that with this crew too. I didn't think that the soundtrack to this game would suddenly turn into 1970s folk music. It's like protest songs. I always love the idea of like hearing your own language as like a foreign language, like what it would sound like to you.
You've seen that video of the person singing, but it doesn't. It's not English, but it's what English is supposed to sound like to other people.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like how the Romans called Germanic people and that barbarians, because it just sounded like they were going like.
I love your bat doggy picture, Greg.
Oh yeah, that's my dog Bailey. She's adorable. She's young and she's a bad dog, but she's adorable.
Aaron, you were saying something?
Yeah, how do I sound? Is it improved?
It does sound better.
Okay, hopefully that's a solution. I think it was my Bluetooth connection, so I plugged in my headphones.
All right, gang. Oh, yes, there's Lou's cutie.
I've got 3 cats kicking around here too. It's a madhouse sometimes.
Yeah, our puppy is over here asleep on the couch. She won't move until she starts hearing me say goodbye. She knows when I'm finishing up a session. She's learned the tone, and she'll run and start barking and want to go out the door.
Ooh, we got a big storm. You guys hear that?
Ooh, I did.
Yeah, hopefully that won't cause any problems for me.
Maybe that was what's been going wrong. It might be flowing down the line. Good luck. There's a storm on the horizon.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, well, beloved, your people praying to this, and you look across, and again, hundreds of miles away, but this massive tsunami that is rolling towards the island. What do you say? What do you do?
I think I'm going to become that temple at the top. And I think it's a kind of a cool visual that not only the Well Deep join in, but also Timo and also some of Antar sort of come and join. And, you know, we have magic spells. Could it sort of be a group effort to sort of try and repel the waves? I know that's not, because I don't really have spells.
Well, it's certainly within your Oryx powers to come up with ways to do
some
it.
Sort of water control.
Right, and you can open up. You've got Kaiten right there with you. You know, do you bring his attention to it?
Maybe Well Beloved has sort of wells that are deep out in the water, and he can sort of pull water down as the wave begins to crest in and sort of make a trough, and so the wave, instead of hitting at full power, is lessened. But I think it's interesting if Well Beloved sort of needs the power and the will of the people to help that work somehow.
Ooh, I like that. All right then. Again, do you reach out to the other Oryx, or are you going to handle this on your own?
I think Well Beloved is going to handle it on its own. I think this is acting in love.
And you're pulling in a module?
I would think this would be a module. And we'll just do that as deep water wells. And so what's the acting with love? That's the D4.
That's a D4 and a D6, but you're using a module.
So it's a D8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll give those a roll. Oh darn. That's a 1 and a 3.
Oh, well, you're using a module. Do you wish to burn it out?
Yeah, I just made it, but let's burn it. Yep. Deep water wells. And so I think the camera sort of moves out from the temple, and we sort of go down the mountainside, and you see the wave coming in, and it goes under the water, and you see these like large circular pipes that are sticking out of the ground. There's several of them. They start to pull the water in, and they pull it with such force that they start to collapse, but it's just enough that the water doesn't take away a whole bunch of Well-Beloved's, the Well-Deep's boats. The boats sort of hold their own in the water.
Oh, I love it.
And then I think burning out a module, as we've established, with Mahalia, I think it sort of hurts. And so
if you'll let me
yeah, go for it.
You're describing out, what result, how it looks. So I see, it's sinking. My guess is, since it's such a massive wave, it's just you disrupted around the island as it goes past.
Certainly, yes, yeah. So there's just sort of the empty part where I can protect the island. Yeah.
Then I'd like to ask Ari, what does Chiton see that makes you know Well-Beloved has exerted and broken himself to fix this?
Oh, jeez. I think it's not something I see physically on him. It's the way the insects act around him. There's certain like behaviors, certain sounds they do. I think they've just fallen silent in reverence of the power that he's exerted. And that whole section of the island, all the chittering, all the locust sounds just go completely empty, like silence.
Oh, I love it. Now, Greg, if you would, tell us how it looks as this power comes out of you.
And I think the people are inside the temple, and where normally there's like these three fountains that are constantly overflowing with water, one of them begins to sputter and break and sort of collapse in on itself, and like part of it falls off, and you see like the tubing on the inside and some of the mechanics, the part that's supposed to be all spiritual, you see some of the actual mechanical parts of it, and like a little electrical arcing out of it, and then it just stops, and there's just the two fountains left.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. All right. Down below, not far below, but certainly further away, we have Mahalia and there we are. Mahalia and Karku. You guys are aware of this wave that manages to, the island is saved. You probably can notice in our, insect net, the feel of them recognizing this power output, what happened there. As you, Karku, have found something.
So I'd like to propose something, Lou, if it's all right with you, that your module there, your singing, your information sharing module, was like tied into your antlers, which are like burned out and broken from it having gone.
I love that.
Okay.
Broken antlers. I thought maybe they just shed. It's like broken, cool artifact.
So as this whole storm is going across this island, there's been this like low thrumming vibration on the ground over this whole end of it, with this dust sort of swarming around everywhere and focusing in on the mountain. But the cloud, Karku, he comes back, and he's sort of swirling around the party of the Tala and Mahalia, and he's speaking into her mind before he sort of coalesces in front of them. And he says, "Sister, you came with haste, but I see now I was hasty as well. You do not come in rudeness. You do not flaunt the ancient traditions. I simply was too blind to see the gift that you brought. You have indeed brought knowledge, a depth, a treasure out of seemingly nowhere. And I present you with my return gift. As he coalesces there in front of you, there's a module. It's these antlers that are sort of like radiator fins, but sort of done in a fractal sort of ferny pattern. So as you get further and further along each antler, like it gets finer and more delicate. And these sheets of metal that almost, I guess, would look more sort of like moose horns from a distance. They would almost look big and fan-like and solid, but really they're just all these little sheets. But I think what it is it's trying to find, like, understand real-world scientific applications for how to deal with nuclear problems. And I was like, fuck that. Wikipedia is not going to teach me this in 10 minutes in the middle of a game. So we're going with magic Oryx technology that's somewhere between, like, nuclear control rods and, like, a lightning rod. It's a system that will draw in, drain off, excessive nuclear energy from the idea of, like, Oryxes that were meant to watch over these sort of power plants.
That's awesome.
But, you know, it's definitely a module I can see being very dangerous to use, but Lou, I don't get the feeling like that's going to be a put-off for you.
No, I'm looking for every opportunity for a noble sacrifice at this moment.
Love it. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's phenomenal.
I can totally see that it's heaps. That's going with your heaps anime setting that we were meeting at. I can totally picture, like, you know, like bowing her head into the thing and coming up, and it's like,
oh
yeah, there's still the storm going on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And it connects, you know, as you put it on, it connects into, you feel it becoming a part of you. And I'd like to hear first, how do the God, I always have to find my book. I'm such a terrible person. How do the Tala react to this change in you? And then I'm going to ask how the Kaolin, how they react to this gift being given. But Lou, tell us, how do your people react seeing you change?
Probably at first with, like, fear, I guess, because I mean she's just been pretty static in her appearance for, you know, generations, but also these fractal lead and heavy water ferns sound pretty beautiful, right?
Absolutely.
So I think maybe, and I think she's probably, while she can no longer impart how she's feeling onto people, you know, she can still sing and show how she's feeling. So I think she's probably coming down the mountain with this amazing looking thing on her. Do you know what I mean? And at first they're probably, and then I think they can see she's, like, you know, she's got that whole proud, you know, that fierce happiness.
Oh, I love it.
Kind of thing.
How about you roll for me, and we're going to put this one in the Maze Rat set.
Yep.
Roll me either strength or will as you're projecting this confidence across your people and the Kaolin. Let's see how that affects them. And it's, again, we're at that Maze Rats level, so it's probably a boost if you do well, not so much stakes if you fail.
Yep. It's 2d6, hey?
That is correct. Actually, I'll let you. I think this deserves the advantage. I think you've gotten an unbelievably awesome set of antlers. I think you can roll 3 and choose the 2 best.
Okay, well, that's huge then. It's an 11 plus my 3 will.
Wonderful.
Fierce happiness.
Fantastic. So you're generating joy that this has happened. That is what you're conveying to your people.
Yeah, it's not so much pure joy as in defiant joy. Do you know what I mean? We've got that here's a thing that we have to actually fight whatever, like this fear that we've got, and it's a fragile yet fierce happiness.
Love it. Can you hear the people singing the songs of angry men? All right, excellent, phenomenal. I'd like to hear then, Karko, as you give this gift and you see Mahalia, Mahalia, move down and she's projecting such power. What are you feeling, and what do you project to your people?
I think I'm still feeling very afraid. This storm is nothing to what I saw in Mahalia's mind. But I'm, trying not to project that to the Kaelin, to my people. Certainly not to the Tala either. Like I said, we're sort of meant to be gods. We're meant to be inspiration points for them in my mind. So instead, where my people had known that I was like going out to meet Mahalia in anger because she had come through and ignored our traditions and everything, the priestesses, they get the sense, they don't know what was exchanged, but they know that if I gave Mahalia these antlers, it must have been something worthy. So as she comes near the town, they're there waiting, and as she's like singing and spreading her sort of joy, they come forward and they have like lacework and woven talismans and trinkets and things like they hang off of me. They come forward to hang those off of Mahalia in respect.
Oh, I love it. I'll give you an option here to roll as well to see how this bolsters your people. Will or strength?
I'll definitely go will. And heck, why not? This is a great time to cast Blossoming Tentacle.
Oh, fantastic!
Let's go ahead and frame up this whole scene and sort of make it a ritualistic accepting of these southern foreigners as actually a close part of us rather than a neighbor.
Awesome.
It's all pretty and there's petals everywhere and shit. Does that get me advantage?
It certainly does.
Ooh, that's a 13.
Are you using like these blossoms or your tentacle blossoms to like lift these things up around, or what are they doing? What does the spell look like?
I think as the priestesses come forward and they hang the stuff off of Mahalia, it's more they like these flowers and tentacles grow up throughout the whole village, around the whole scene, sort of in betwixt and among, and just they're glowing with magical energy. They're growing so quickly. So I think they sort of sparkle and set off a bit of a like fireworks sort of feel of these vibrant colors that are sparking with arcane energy.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. And, I believe that the peoples of both tribes, they're feeling encouraged, and I feel like their protectors are stepping up and doing these things that, and they're, martial isn't the right term, because it's not like they're feeling like going to fight. It's more like they're feeling like we know that we can handle this. sounds like you're bringing them together. We're coming together to fight these problems, to combat these problems. And, we're hearing song lifted up and the beauty of these tentacles. And if you'd like, Patrick, you can go ahead because of our time skip and roll up another spell. I know you love a spell. Roll it up, and the mechanism therefore to do it, and then tell me what you get, and we'll come up with something. As I think we have these people who are looking and saying the old times have brought us new hope. We got an hour and a half left, so I'm going to start doing a little bit harder framing. I believe we're probably all four of you coming together here soon. Does that make sense for everyone? All right. So I think I'm going to push us over to everyone coming together. We have the roiling storm heading towards us, and we have a bit of information that needs to, be gathered between you. So I think I'm going to set us here. Patrick, do you have your roll? I'll give you your spell.
Sealing Call.
Ooh. A call comes from bird. Oh, call. Oh, I see. Gotcha. I was thinking of the thing that covers a baby's face. No, it's a sealing call. That seems to me to be like a very powerful lock, doesn't it? It's something you call into effect and it'll seal a thing, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of view it as a, like putting some sort of barrier up or encapsulating something. Does that sound good to you as the spell?
Yeah, I think we can figure out something in the moment.
Excellent. All right. So I'd like to frame us. How do we feel? Anybody have a problem with us all ending up at that center called Dara? Does that seem like where we'd all end up? Okay, good.
There's a big power expenditure there with the tidal wave and all that.
Excellent. Then I think I'd like to hear the greetings that each of you give each other. Again, some of you have not seen each other for a very long time. So I'm just going to do a down the line, and I'm going to have each of you give your greeting to the other two as they come up. I'll start with you, Ari. How does Chiton greet Karku and Mahalia?
I think, is it day or night?
I'll let you choose. You're first.
Yeah, if it's, I'm going to go with night. If it's night, it's a display of the blinking of the insects at night, creating this welcoming visual. And on top of that is layered a completely different species of insect, these beetles creating this sort of thrumming sound. And all of my priests bow, in turn to the other priests present.
Oh, I love that. Well, beloved, how do you greet your fellow Oryx?
I like the well deep. They don't. They are the ones that well be love sort of stays apart, and the well deep go out and sort of a ceremonial baptismal sort of thing with the other followers, and it's sort of violent, like a big bowl of water, and they just dunk their heads in it really quickly. But it's such pure water that those who can't have that or don't have that regularly, it's a beautiful thing. And I think Well Beloved is much more friendly to Mahalia than he is to Karku, and I think the Well Deep sort of they keep dunking all of the Karku, the kaolin, and the water keeps getting dirty from all of the dust. And they keep pouring out the water, and they keep trying again and again, and it's sort of there's sort of a little hostility there, and it's sort of you're making the water dirty, and they're like, you keep getting all the dust off of me.
I think it's ridiculous that your priests would suggest that we're intentionally re-dirtying ourselves for each done.
And so I think there's a little interplay there amongst the tribes, but I think Well Beloved very much stands apart and is quiet through the whole exchange.
Lovely. Lou, how does Mahalia and her people greet her lost Oryx friends?
I think they to cut in on that silence that was happening with Well Beloved. I think, like, as we see that silence stretch out for a little while, we hear all this noise from a distance, and all of Mahalia's like enters, and she's got these new like amazing antlers, and her people are like all over her like back and like riding on her legs and stuff, and they're pretty much I'm kind of picturing it actually like a like that Hindu holy day kind of thing. They've all got symbols, and they're all like and they're all like yelling, and they're probably doing that bowls of heavy water, everyone dies. I think you know that there's a few different names for it. I think there's that Indian holiday where they that Hindu holiday where they
what is it, Diwali?
Yeah, Diwali, yeah, or Holi, where they I think they're just like throwing like pigment on everybody. But I think they've made stuff for all of the other like Oryxes. So I think probably maybe for Well Beloved they've like made this you know, like Oryx sized jewelry out of like shells and coral and stuff.
Oh.
And I think maybe for chitin it's like all of the like the cicada kind of insects leave all these amazing like shells behind when they shed their shells. So I think maybe they've even like painted them with some sort of metallic paint that makes them like less fragile and able to last. And probably for Kirku, is it Kirku or Karku?
Karku.
Ah, cool. I wrote the A as a U. Karku. I think it's like it's probably some sort of jewelry that they've actually like made out of like little working machinery and stuff. Or maybe it's all old it's like timepieces and stuff. So they're all like they're all ticking and geared and stuff. So I think the people come up, and I'm imagining the Oryx is like bowing down, and the people are like putting the these things on them. Yeah.
Awesome. And Karku, how do you greet your long distant friends?
So yeah. So I think as all this like pigment and colored things go into the air, Karku is coming. He's sort of, his legs are sort of fuzzed out. He's sort of moving on a swirling cloud just to be, you know, we're off of my land. I'm trying to be impressive with these jerks that I haven't talked to in generations. Especially that one dripping over in the corner. But all this pigment goes into the air, and it actually, as it sort of like scatters and becomes all colors, as it hits Karku, they actually form back up into like swirling streaks of each color formed back together. And as we come forward, the priestesses, they have bowls of like muds that they hold up into this cloud, and they'll get like different colors on them, and they come forward to paint designs on the other Oryxes, like they do on themselves. Like it's not like haha, we're just gonna fling mud at you. You know, they're very much covered in the like tribalistic designs of these caked on layers of different muds, and so they're trying to be nice and adorn them with decorations.
Awesome. All right, so we're seeing a coming together of all the tribes, all the Oryx, here at the center and top of our island. Looking out from here, the view, you see across this kind of green and verdant island you have that's, it's jungle, really. And beyond it to the east, we could see that storm coming. And the waves are still choppy and everything, but the massive shock has already passed with the tsunami. I think I'm going to have us roll first to inform how our discussion goes, because we know we don't always communicate all that great. So I'd like for everyone to roll me a will. However, Airy, if you're willing to risk one of your modules, you can give everyone advantage because you are the communicator in all this. But it will then put it in there into your role as up for potential, destruction. And I'd like for you to roll first, so that gives you the opportunity that should you fail and want to expend it, it would have its opportunity to work there. So Why don't you roll first?
Okay, all right, sure. So that was with will.
Correct.
And it's 2d6 plus
but
will.
You're replacing one, making it a d8 because you're using that module.
So 1d6, 1d8, and plus 2. Okay. That's a 12.
Attaboy.
Finally got a good roll there.
That's fantastic. All the rest of you now have advantage on your roll. So you would be rolling 2d6, unless you wish to put some sort of module in there. I'm sorry, 3d6, and taking the two best, unless you wish to put a module in there, and then you replace one with an 8.
And just double checking, these are all will rolls?
These are will rolls. This is our communication with each other. So, Patrick, have you rolled yours?
Yes, good lord, I got a 13.
Goodness gracious.
Whoa.
Lou, did you roll yours?
9.
I got an 8.
And an 8. Well,
Patrick, you killed it.
So the reason I had us roll it first.
Y'all should have smeared mud on each other. It really works.
The reason I had us roll it first is because I would like, and I know it's dangerous to just open up the table to talk to each other in a Hangouts game, but I think it'll work considering some of our problems with communication. You guys have your discussion here on the top of the mountain. Those of you who failed, I would like at some point during this conversation for you to tell me something you are trying to say, but tell me how you failed to say it and it pissed everybody off. Or it was completely misconstrued. It doesn't have to make them angry. It can make them, it can be just misconstrued. So, amongst yourselves, go ahead and talk this out. And I'm going to, once again, I'm going to mute so y'all can talk, and I'm also going to turn off my camera because I've got to blow my nose.
It all starts with awkward silence. I think Mahalia looks around at everyone, but then she looks she looks right at Chiton and she's like, says something. I think it's starting off with communication straight away. She's I think she's trying to say that she appreciates how he uses the insects and his skills to help us all to communicate. But I think what she actually says is what it comes across as, like, what is it you even do here? We all have obvious skills, and you don't. Yours is like maybe it comes across as yours as not a important skill, like it's a little.
So sort of a thing of like, oh, it's great that you're here to answer the phones or whatever.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I answered, and this is Chiton, the Oryx, sort of spreads his wings and addresses you. It is through this communication that our people have survived for so long in these caves. These lines of communication allow us to relay my word to my people. And for centuries, we have survived many of these waves crashing against the island.
Yes, you were good at doing small things.
Survival may be a small thing, but it is an essential thing.
Is that what we are here for? Is that why we have called our priests and high ones together for the first time in centuries? To argue in front of them, to see who can scratch highest on the tree.
No. Gather because there is a great danger in the east. We gather because not one of us can face this alone. Not one of us can take this on alone. And I'm not sure that fully gets across.
Don't have to face it at all. If you would just come into my embrace, into the caves, we can just weather it like we always have here.
And I think Mahalia will put her foot in it again. I think she says that, do you all not see that Kaku has gifted upon me something which we can fight with? We don't need to cower in your small little holes, your insect burrows. And I think she's actually saying, like, she's trying to say, I'm proud that I've been given, that Kaku has given me this when he could have used it himself. And maybe insect burrows is a compliment. Insects are awesome. Oh. But instead she seems super prideful.
Oh, that's so well done. Very nice, Lou.
I only see that Karku has gifted you something from the olden times. That Karku has gifted you something of the previous that brought what we are now.
This threat, this firebird from the sky brings ancient energies with him. What would you propose we fight him with? Sticks and leaves? Perhaps we could get him wet.
And what will you do? Sling mud?
I bring the fruits of the earth. I bring powers and abilities not seen.
The poison
are making.
The poison fruits of the earth. The deep things we buried long ago for reasons.
Let this fell creature throw itself upon the caldera, like so many before it have. It will expend itself and fall into the sea and be no more.
Kaitan, while you have been dwelling in your valleys and seeing the depths of the tunnels, I have been on the high places. I've seen the land where this thing comes from, or what once was a land. There's nothing but blackness. There's nothing but glass and desolation behind it.
I know of what you speak. Deep in the deepest hollows of our caves, there are drawings of this from a race that is no more, but it is depictions of great blossoming clouds of dust and explosions. But these caves are resilient. Their walls are thick, and such fell powers will not penetrate so deep inside.
Ari, I adore you, because I was literally I was fixing to frame a question of what down in these caves around the Caldera you had seen that reminded you of this tragedy. That was perfect. Lou.
You're in luck.
That was perfect. Lou, as he says this, I'd like to hear Mahalia. You certainly have not shared the same way you did with Karku, your knowledge of this stuff. I want to hear how you tell them of what you've seen of its devastation, of what you've seen of it.
Yeah, because I don't feel like I'm capable of sharing in the same way that I did earlier. I guess maybe she brings her people in at this point, and I think it's some sort of because I'm imagining this conversation. I'm actually kind of picturing that you know, the time lapse thing that I was talking about like earlier. Like, I think there's this conversation's happening, but behind the Oryxes there's like sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset. Like, they're talking.
I'm certainly seeing it that way too.
Like, the people are still doing stuff like around us. I think maybe there's some sort of like performance by her people, like for the two Oryxes, that she's now not able to just like send these thoughts into their heads. So I guess they've got, I'm kind of imagining it like shadow, it's like really basic shadow puppetry. Like, they've got this theater, and there's like, you know, there's someone like, and maybe even I think maybe Mahalia even narrates the, you know, the story, so it's got that narration over the top, and we see like these, it's mixed up, do you know what I mean? Because they don't really understand it, so it's like, you know, it's ancient cities and giant birds and blossoming flower explosions and all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, so I think it's delivered like that.
I love it. I think, because I think I would like to see, because this is ancient stuff, but it's things you were a part of. If you want to remember what it was at the end, at the beginning of the Cataclysm, you may either choose to roll Strength or Will, or you can go with an Oryx power. I'm opening it up to any of that. I just don't see where Dex fits. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to not delve into that knowledge, you can. But this will be a roll to see if you can remember where you came from.
Yeah, I think I might. I haven't used my spell yet. I've got this stasis form spell, and I was thinking perhaps, so it like mechanically it says I don't use fuel for 3 turns, but I was thinking maybe of doing that kind of like full time, like I've got the word time dilation in my head, but I don't even really know what that is. I'm
I think you're right, though.
So we're already in this like Oryx time, right? Where time's passing. I think I'm want to use it to bring time almost to a standstill, but where we're able to like talk and communicate and like find our shared like history. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe the little bits that we remember of it, but
and you're kind of opening up the library a little with that.
Yeah,
or?
I think so. And it's like this is because obviously we don't have forever to work this out, right? There's a thread on the horizon, so it's like you know, maybe we do 100 years worth of conversation in like a couple of days or something, and are able to work it out.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so you're casting your spell.
Yep.
To do this sort of closing in time, so you guys are, you know, it opens up all this chance for you to delve into it, and it sounds like, Lou, you are trying to open up the memories of the past.
Yeah.
So I think you can use your module roll. Would you like for this to be an Oryx roll, or you think you want to keep it down in the Maze Rats roll?
It seems like it's a pretty Oryx kind of thing.
So
I don't think yeah. So is that how do I use? So I'm doing an Oryx roll for the success of the spell.
No, you're doing an Oryx roll to basically, if you succeed, tell us a truth of what it was when the world came to an end.
Ah, cool. Okay.
Yeah, your spell is opening up all of this potential discussion y'all can have before shit happens.
Ah, cool. And so I guess I'll make it harder and say that it's out of love that I'm doing it.
Wonderful.
So it's a D6 and a D4, right?
Right, but you're using your module, it sounded like.
Yeah.
Your library, so you can replace the D6.
I am using the library. Oh, it would be ironic if I revealed knowledge of the past and destroyed my access to my underground.
You don't have to. You don't have to use the module.
I'm gonna roll and see if I need to. So 1d4 and 1d6.
It'd be a D8 and a D4 with the module.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll throw that.
Yeah, because there's still the potential you'll roll that 8.
A D8 and a D4, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Okay, 1d8. That is a 2 and an 8 on the D8.
Which will burn out your library.
Yes, it will.
But it is a magnificent success.
Yeah, so I maybe even like, I guess during this condensed time she does, because they're having 100 years worth of conversation in a couple of days, right? So maybe she's overheated the library. She's sharing like so much within that time that like maybe it's even just the connections to the like the fiber or whatever to the whatever it is. That's gonna
you're overclocking like hell.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the end point of what you see, I think maybe it's the original, maybe it's the 4 of us even like arriving at the island, but the way that we do, and I know what Mahalia like sees herself doing, I guess, if maybe we see her in this cultural precinct in a city and she's like jacked into this place and you can just see all this, it's probably lights moving along cables and she's trying to save all of this knowledge and there's stuff going on all around her, but you see there's people running like
I love it.
into her, and then I think we see her kind of crossing this ocean, and maybe they're like, I don't want to speak for everyone else's Oryxes, but maybe I kind of picture we traveled together to this island, like they team up to get here, and I guess we probably need Well-Beloved to like actually like cross an ocean.
Well, okay. I think that's an excellent start to our bit of history here. Thank you, Lou. That's phenomenal.
And can I add something onto there?
Certainly.
So I think as this is happening and you're pulling up like all of the data stores that you have, and it's all sort of pouring out into the air and just leaking free of this bubble that we're in. Can I use that sealing call spell? My idea is to, as we move into a time frame that's actually analogous to what the humans, what our tribes are living in. I think this this information, it begins to like sing out in a voice above us, and it's not the like sim language that we generally talk back and forth to our people to, like we can't understand them, they can't understand us. It's fully in their language. And with that sealing part of it, can I take a lot of what's coming up from Mahalia's stores of concrete knowledge, but that only she can draw on, and turn them into like an oral tradition, into stories and verses that become like lodged in people's minds and remembered by all of the people that are here witnessing this?
Does it seem fair for me to say the spell allows that capability, but you still need to make an Oryx roll?
Sure.
Okay. I think that's, yeah, you can see if you want to do it with love or hate, but you can roll it straight up. But I feel like, you know, the spell is allowing it, but it's still going to take that kind of godly push to, you know, implant an oral tradition into a group of people.
Yeah.
Want to put in a module of yours?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think part of his people's ability to advance and use the sort of things that they find is that Karku can speak to these ancient artifacts, can speak in a language that they understand and command them to speak back to him. And so it's through all of these little like trinkets and technological things and ancient artifact bits that his priests are wearing a lot of. But, you know, they've sort of spread through the island. I imagine a lot of the priests have some of these little bits. But they begin like acting as speakers, and they begin just all of the different little tech bits that begin speaking in these different voices or telling different things. So it's this like babble of electronic voices in this conversation.
I love it. All right, and that's your third module established, I suppose.
Yes.
All right, roll it off.
And I think this is definitely in love, because not for the people, but for Mahalia, because of the way that she was the first one that I talked to. She believed me, and she's been like throwing herself at fighting this evil that I saw. She's been burning herself out in the effort, and I can't stand to see it all be lost from her.
I think that's a beautiful move in love.
It's a 7. Just worked.
Made it. Thankfully, it was an Oryx move. And so these stories begin to be amplified, and they're taking them in. Well-Beloved, do you wish to open up your memories?
So I just want to say that as a player, I actually think that the modern ways, the old technology is probably really the best way of tackling this. But I think Well-Beloved, I think it's interesting if Well-Beloved sort of sees this sacrifice that Mahalia demonstrate, and sees this vision of Mahalia attached to all of these things and trying to collect all of the knowledge before it's too late, and sees that sacrifice and sort of remembers towing all these other Oryxes out to Eden with the flotation device, pulling them there, and the struggles and how hard it was. And I think a little bit of Wellbeloved gives in and sees that the traditions that Wellbeloved has been following and instilling in his followers will not help them now. That this is that is time to give in to is it Karku? Yes, to Karku, and sort of find a middle ground. That there is no time to sit on tradition and to save the island the way it has been saved before. That this is a new threat. This is a threat like the old ways, which Karku knows best.
I like that. Oh, that's phenomenal. Doesn't sound like exactly you're delving into your memories. Particularly, it's just you're seeing a part of your memories and kind of saying, "This is I accept. This is what we must do."
Yeah, I think that finally convinces Wellbeloved that we must do something, and that sticking to the traditional ways of doing things will not cut it this time.
All right, then. So since you're not rolling, I'll instead have you answer a question. What is it that is buried underneath this volcano that made you bring them here?
I think there's sort of an old like a bunker or some repository from the olden times that has been self-sustaining for all these times, and Wellbeloved has been so attached to the upper world and so attached to keeping things above ground and where there is nature and where there's water and all of that, and against the artificial, that he has been keeping it a secret. And he sort of shares that there is somewhere beyond even the lava tubes, there is a place here.
Perfect. All right, Ari, do you delve into your memories? How do you react when this comes in?
Wow. I think I remember the sacrifices that our people made, and that my Oryx made just to get us here. And that attachment to the caves makes that sacrifice even more deeply felt. I think what happened was, wherever we were before, the offspring of Khitan, the oldest of the insects, the ones that you would consider his direct descendants, much larger, than like normal insects, they actually sacrificed themselves, and their carapaces were used as the boats to come over here, and are buried down in those caves. So that this is a very personal thing for the god, I guess, to be down there. I really love that idea of this bunker that maybe is even alluded to in the drawings, but our people haven't quite put it together. We haven't quite made that connection that it's there, and maybe you're Wellbeloved, maybe you're the link for that. For whatever reason, you've been holding on to this knowledge.
I think that there's also the capability in the bunker of producing more Oryx, of producing more protectors, and that I haven't wanted to share that because I wanted to keep that a secret from all of you, that there's a way to make more of us, but
fuck yes.
So anathema to the way Wellbeloved sees the world, that to share that at this moment is like, this is the crisis. Even if we fail, we can make more of us.
So Tyler, are there any roles involved with this here?
Again, right now you're describing out things. The question would be, you know, we had some who made rolls to kind of delve in and find out something. Would you like to roll to establish a fact, or are we going off of just our description sets up here?
I'd
I'd
roll
like-
on it just to see how intact the bunker is, maybe.
Yeah, I'd also like to roll to see whether there's an actual connection between the lava tubes and the bunker that would make my purpose for staying down there even more, you know, firmly held.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's a good roll because it establishes something cool for us, and it gets to kind of develop out the story. But it sounds a little like that's kind of your tribe. Would you have done that, or have your people been exploring these?
I think the people.
All right.
Yeah.
Then that's going to be on that Maze Rats set of rolls.
Mhm.
But I think with a lot of what's been established, you're coming in with advantage because we have a lot of play that's you gave great descriptions. We have other people playing in with it, so you're going in with advantage. Do you wish to have a module that worked with that? Your vibration thing might be one. You wish to risk it.
I'm going to do that. I think the vibration one.
All right.
So what is that going to do? Is that going to turn one of the dice
to an 8? So you'll have a D6 and a D8, looking for a 10, adding in. I think probably this is strength of your people, or maybe Dex. Hell, we haven't rolled Dex. So Dex or strength, whichever you prefer of your peoples.
Okay.
Is that for both of us?
No, we're gonna have Ari roll that one for the go through. I like where I gave you a setting up question. If you're content with that, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with strength, and so a D8, one D8, one D6.
Correct.
Is that it?
Plus your strength.
Okay.
Looking for a 10, and of course you can always, you could choose to burn out a module to get an automatic success if you don't succeed.
Okay. Looks like I got a 9, 10.
Was your 8 an 8?
No, it's a 6. 6 and
Excellent.
a 3. Yeah.
So you got a what? A 9?
10.
10.
Yeah.
Exactly what you needed, sir.
Yeah. Lucky.
I think that your people have gone through these lava tubes to a point where they found the more constructed areas where these ancient carapaces were buried, and inside of that are these passages that are built completely foreign. They're, angles. They are tiled, and they lead deep into a place where none of your people have gone, where it is too holy for them to have gone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so we've had this council, and like we say, time, ages, years are able to pass as we're having this argument. I think we're going to say we have given all of this knowledge to each other. It's just been a shared moment. So, with that knowledge, and as this council is breaking up, what do you say to each other? What is the conclusion of the four of you? Because outside of this time, that roiling cloud has moved closer. And now you can hear from the mountaintop that high-pitched scream of this great bird. And again, because I'm trying to cuss for some time to make sure we're scooting forward, I'm going to have us go down the table and have folks say what they want. So, Patrick, as this council ends, what does Karku say?
He says, "We came to this island, this Eden, to escape from the nuclear fires, to escape from the burning and the consumption that it brings. We cannot risk that any part of it will take root here on our fertile soil. We must drive it off. We cannot simply wait and hope."
All right. Mahalia, As this council ends, what do you say?
Mahalia goes and stands next to Kaku as he's finishing. And I think she looks over towards Chitin and Wellbeloved, and she's like, you two are gentle. You should take our people into the earth. The gentle parts of me are broken now. I can't make our people feel things. I can't share my knowledge. But I do have these, and I think she like poses, and a bit of sun breaks through the the storm, and these like fractal fern antlers are like glistening in the sun. She's like, I'll stand here. I think we need to both fight and hide. I don't think we get to do one or the other.
Excellent. Greg, as the council ends, what does Well-Beloved say?
I think Well-Beloved also stands over to Karku and says, take my strongest. Take my fighters, take my soldiers, put them on the shore, give them your weapons that you have from deep below. Arm them as they had been before, and I will go below. I will leave my people with you, and I will begin again the machines below.
I think there's a pause and a sort of stoic consideration before, without any sort of snarkiness or comment, Karku will kneel down and like lower his antlers to you in respect.
And I think Well-Beloved sort of squirts water onto Karku, and just like sort of the dust ebbs away, and you see some like actual chrome or something bright and shiny below.
Oh, that's beautiful. Chitin, as this council breaks up, what do you say?
Many of you have decided to fight. I will reserve a few of my best fighters, caparisoned in their chitinous armor that will resist this creature for some time. But to truly survive, you need to go into the earth. I have provisions. I have seedlings that we will plant again after these fires are expended, and we will grow again on this island.
I think as you're saying that, Mahalia's like, some of her people are trying to stay with her, and she's like nudging them over, like, to like stand beneath Chitin.
Oh, that's so wonderful. All right. And as this council meeting and this ebb of time, this strangeness that, of course, your priests will speak of to their dying day and pass down to the next generation, of when time seemed to stand still and they stood amongst the gods. Time unwinds and the winds begin to buffet you. You could see where this storm has moved closer. Lightning is now just streaking across the sky, and it has that yellowy, greenish sort of color to it. And as you stand there and begin, making your moves to initiate your plans, people begin moving. Some begin heading below. A monstrous bird descends from the clouds, lightning striking at its silvery wings, bouncing back up into the clouds. There's no doubt. It is a mechanical. The mechanical osprey. And I did put a picture up of an osprey there in the in our event. As it descends down, and it's across the top of the center of the island, and as you can look up, you are amazing, have technological super eyes. As you look up, you can see that inside of it there are a few people, 6 across its big breast as it comes down, but you can see they are all entwined in its mechanisms. And as it screeches out its call, I have taken the power. This shall not be in vain. I shall nest. Each of my children will have their own organic creature. The time of the Mechanica comes as it lights down on the edge of the Caldera. And I'd like for us to take a 5-minute break real quick as I wrap us up at the end of that.
And if you feel like it, listen to Iron Maiden, where eagles stare, where beagles stare, where beagles stare.
There we go.
Nice.
All right, back in 5. I'm going to try and frame us hard and quick so we get a good result.
Well, we got 2 of us above, and 2 of us below, and a whole group of people above and a whole group of people below. So sort of just, I think we can do it.
I think we can do it. All right, gang. Then we see this monstrous bird, and it is as large as you. Its wingspan covering hundreds and hundreds of feet. It is crackling with this green energy lightning that is going across it. Inside, again, it has these people all encapsulated in the tubes in its great chest. We have above, we have Mahalia and Kartu. As you face this thing on the top of the Katera. Meanwhile, we have Well-Beloved, who is traveling through the deep passages down to its depths. And we have Kaiten, who is taking most of the tribes. I mean, we pretty much assemble all of the tribes deeper in for protection. I think I'm going to start with Mahalia and Karku, sorry. As you face this thing, Karku, what do you say to it? You're muted, my love.
Press mute. I'm trying to remember what it ended on, like what line it ended on.
I have taken the power. I will nest here. Soon, the others will have organics of their own. The age of the Mechanica is dawned.
We do not need the horrors of the past here on Eden. But come, we specialize in taking apart, in disassembling, in breaking things down to be used again. We will happily incorporate you. Perhaps you would make a nice window. Have you ever thought of life as a pilot light?
Oh, lovely. Mahalia, what do you say to this thing?
I think Mahalia's still got the I think she just begins broadcasting like sound out of herself. I think she's just communicating like through music, and I think it's actually like she's not able to affect emotions directly anymore, but I think it's actually like very like slow, sad music because she's just sent her people off like underground. But I think so she's just maybe that's probably behind Karku's like shade that he's dropping, like the music starts welling up. And I think that she starts I'm just imagining that this fractal fern is like starting to like glow and quiver, and she's beginning to charge it up for whatever awesome shit it's gonna do.
Excellent. And
but I do totally want Karku to throw me up into the sky at some point.
I think that we may get the opportunity to see that awesome shit, because as this music swells up, the Smarg looks over at you, Karku. Foolish, outdated thing. And as it screams, this energy pulse comes flaring out of its mouth, bearing straight towards you. I will give opportunity for Mahalia, if you wish, to try and intercept it. That would be a dex roll. Or
So I got you
Karku.
them fancy antlers.
Yeah. And if that doesn't work, Karku, you're probably going to get smacked.
Rad. Yeah, I think Mahalia totally like mountain goats up onto Kaku's back. And he jumps and like she jumps, and you get the like awesome like split screen like as the eagle's coming down and she's going up glowing, and it's all like
All right. Roll me a dex.
Okay.
And you're coming off the back of Karku. I think that's worth advantage.
Yes.
Yeah, I think as you jump off Karku's back, there's just this wave of swirling dust, which hopefully doesn't. Hopefully that was a good laugh. Follows you up there.
I rolled a 1, a 2, and a 3.
No.
I'm guessing your dex isn't 5.
No. But can I can destroy the ferns, right, if we want to succeed, because it's a module, right? Is that not?
You could, if you're willing to blow them up right now.
Yeah, can I noble sacrifice, slam into the? Although I do want to see Karku die.
Well, we were doing so well. I thought we were friends.
Well, we just need someone to die at the end, right?
I don't like your stories.
So the question is, do you wish to do you want to go ahead and blow up that in the first shot? Or are you going to let that one get by you?
Yeah, I think I'll let it get by me.
All right. And so you are blasted upon their Karku.
And I tried use my nanos swarm thing to get out of it.
You certainly can. Why don't you roll a dex? Or you can roll, if you want to spend a fuel and try and roll to avoid it with your Oryx powers.
Yeah, I think this will be an Oryx roll.
Rolling in hate or rolling flat?
No, not yet. I still have faith in our abilities here. I think if Mahalia had blown up there, certainly.
And so you put the D8 in?
Yep.
Okay.
3 and a 4 is 9. Or, I mean, a 5 and a 4, rather. It's still
Excellent.
9.
It is indeed. And so is this. Basically, it looks like a laser beam. It's probably more like a plasma projection, but not to get technical. Swam! It slams into the mountain behind you, and rocks fly everywhere, but you have diffused, and it has gone through you.
Yeah, I think what was left there and what got blasted was sort of a shell of dust that was left behind, and I'm actually now in this cloud that's propelling Mahalia up towards it.
Excellent. We'll come back to Mahalia, as I'm going to give you a chance to attack at the end of this. But I think we're going to ask, we're going to scoot down to, I think, Well Beloved. As you're traveling down through these passages, you're following old memories? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I think we were all born from someplace like this. Perhaps Well Beloved was actually born here or created here, and so that's why when things got bad, Well Beloved took everyone here. So it's sort of by memory, sorting through, markings or things that have shifted, and it's a little confusing, but guiding all of the tribes, as well as I can never keep anyone's name straight. Chitin's people and all of Mahalia's people who are distraught, and sort of guiding them there.
So I can clarify.
Yeah.
Do you think, I'm asking Chitin real quick, are you traveling alongside or with Well Beloved as he's going this route? Or are you taking your people and those following you elsewhere?
I kind of have this slightly Machiavellian plan okay, so I'll give you like the big picture so you know what he's trying to do, and then you can fit into what's happening here. He's going to use those. He knows these followers are separated from their Oryxes now, and they're all seeking this shelter, and they depend on going through my tunnels to get there. So my thinking is that I'll be using my illusions and the secretions from all my insects to convert all of these Oryx-less people over to my to worship me by converting their minds as they go through these tunnels. That's kind of like the big plan he's had all along.
I totally knew you were up to no good.
The hive expands. All right, so you're moving separately then from Well Beloved, who's kind of moving now almost by himself.
I think so, yeah.
Why don't we have you? Would you like to roll an Oryx move, or try and do a will roll off the maze rats to be controlling people? I haven't been keeping up with your fuel, but are folks getting low? If folks are getting low, you should think on it.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot to track that. I think I've done it 3 times so far.
I believe so.
Okay, let me check my fuel.
I'm down to 5.
They all got shitloads of fuel.
Yeah, I've got 7.
Okay. So, are you wishing to do it as an Oryx move, where you're kind of supplanting them and bringing them into your fold?
Feels like an Oryx move. It's like that
excellent
big picture kind of thing.
Is it with love?
It could be, right? I mean, villains can be full of love. It's just misguided love, right?
Right. I mean, you're caring for these people.
Right. I think love.
All right. Are you using a module?
Yeah, I'm going to use a module.
Okay.
This is going to be psychoactive secretions.
Excellent. Oh, my. All right. So you'll roll a d4 plus a d8 with the potential to being able to burn it out if you need a success.
Okay. Move these dice over here so I can see them clearly. And roll. That wasn't very good. A 4. Not impressive.
You gonna burn it out, or you gonna? These people are.
This is pretty late in the game. I'm gonna burn it out. I'm gonna burn it out.
And so they're suffused with this psychoactive drugging. As what is the message you're telling them? Why should they follow you?
It's very simple. You need to eat. You need to drink. These caves belong to me. Love me and feed from my caves and belong to me.
Oh, then I see a sort of shrooms ecstasy thing going on with all these folks behind you. Oh, he feels so good. Excellent.
And I'm also using the darkness, and so it's dark in there, right? So I'm using the insects lighting to kind of like throw them off and draw them to certain places, right?
Oh, I love it. All right, so well beloved, you've been traveling down through here into this place that was your own birthplace. Were only Oryx built here? Or are there other mechanicals that were built here?
I think there's other mechanicals. I think because it's an island, possibly this is more water-based ones were made. Perhaps Timo was even one who was made here, and that's why Timo came. I don't remember Timo. Perhaps Timo was younger or older than I was.
So that sounds like this space even has an opening to the sea once you get down here far enough.
Ooh, like a moon pool?
Yeah. What is it that as you reach down to this bottom area, this bunker, this birthplace, what do you hear that reminds you of home? What do you see and hear that reminds you of mother?
I think even though it's a moon pool, there's this slow undulation of the waves, and up above the moon pool is all these, you know, composite parts of what would become more Mechanica. And sort of, I remember the first time I came online, or I became, and I remembered this same ocean back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I think I also, at the same time I'm hearing this back and forth, I'm no longer hearing my followers. And I'm no longer hearing all of their chants and their prayers as they slowly be converted over to chitin, and I sort of curse chitin's name.
And as you're issuing this curse, feeling them taken inside of this place, you hear a voice. Well, beloved, welcome home. We're going to cut back up to the Caldara, where I think we got Mahalia coming in with like a full-on jumping at Schmarg, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's the double jump thing now, right? Like I jumped off of the back, and now Kaku's like turned into that cloud, and he's like pushing me up even like, you know, ridiculously anime high jump.
So do you wish to attack Smart? Do you wish to put the full headbutt in? What you doing?
I'm kind of thinking that this fern thing is more of a reflective, like it's going to take whatever power Smart fires at me and like directs it back at him. So I think maybe probably like right before we hit, he'll fire and I'll try. So I guess if I succeed, then it hits him. If I don't, I get totally smashed.
I think this sounds like an Oryx move. This is big old god powers at work. Do you think you're in love or hate, or are you going flat?
I reckon it's love still. She's defending her. If she doesn't beat this thing, her people are all gonna die, even though she probably doesn't have any people anymore by the sounds of it.
They'll all be very safe and buggy.
Yeah, but I guess I'm using this module, so I'm rolling D8 and the D4.
That is correct.
Cool. D8, D4, reroll.
Think you've worked up to hate yet?
I rolled a 3 and a 7.
That's a 10. That's fantastic. As this thing opens its mouth to scream its toxic, screech at you, that energy bounces straight into your horns as you're coming in. And we see them light up. And that blast back straight through your forehead, smashing into Smart's head.
Yes.
I think I'm going to have us roll something. I know it's late to do it, but I'd like for you to roll damage.
Whoa, that's a thing, isn't it? We're finally playing a real game.
Since you're using this, your head array to do it, roll a d10.
Cool. Bloop, bloop, bloop. 1d10. I just only rolled a 2.
Oh. So, as this energy, it shears back off of its head. Karku, you see this going on. What are you doing?
So as the energy passes over its head, I see it's still got its mouth open from screaming. It's got some like frayed ports and burned off bits, and this cloud that was holding Mahalia up. By the way, get ready to find something else to do. Keeps like flying forward straight at it as this dust gets into all of those cracks and the holes in its open mouth as I just spread through its body, like binding up its system and locking up its joints and wearing away fine machinery with this corrosive dust that's just scratching at everything.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. All right, then. That sounds like an Oryx power.
Yes, and
Spend a fuel.
I think we've definitely worked up into its screaming fiery face, so I feel good with hate now.
Mm. So 2d6 and an 8.
Yep. Which is... Oh, for fuck's sake. So that's 16, which was an 8 on my d8 and double 4s on the other dice.
Oh my.
It's double 4s. Something's lost.
So yeah, that's the module gone and something lost from this world.
All right. As you spread into the mechanical osprey, circulating through it, your dust locking up every joint. You can hear it. And it is so unbelievably effective. Inside of it, lightning begins to strike. It begins to get burning hot around you as it can, all of its mechanisms are falling apart. You can hear the screams of those 6 people in its chest as it goes, "No. Go my eggs. Children. I need children." And doof, 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 doof. Those 6 humans splash into the water and sink directly down. As around you, this thing gets hotter until it explodes, busting down the side of the caldera, so that the lake inside begins to swoosh down across the land. And you, Karku, caught up in this burning hot, this almost pretty much fission explosion that occurs. You are spread like dust across the mud at the bottom of the caldera.
I actually have a slightly modified idea there.
All right.
Because I don't mind the idea of like riding this this flaming bird out of the story. But I'd like to also burn out my deep delving module to bring something up from the depths as we're screaming down towards this caldera to meet it. As I don't want any part of this thing potentially left on this island. It's a shame those little eggs got away, but I don't want any part of this bird left intact on this island. So I think there's a spray of lava coming up out of the dormant volcano to meet us as we like meteor down into it.
Oh, I like it too.
Like coming up out of the center of this lake, steaming and boiling everywhere.
And so we have the cloud of Karku around this remains of exploded bird as it slams down. The water just is leaving and steam is rising up, and the lava eruption rises up. Oh yes, absolutely. Volcanic lightning striking across. As we'll see what the final fate of Karku is. As down below. Well, beloved, you have entered into this space and heard this voice you haven't heard for so long. What do you say back?
I think we failed, Mother. We couldn't protect them. I'm not sure we can save them. I hear their voices. I hear them waning.
You should not lose faith, well beloved. Yours is duty. And as this goes on, you can hear around you the whole place rumbling as apparently a volcano's opened up above and it's around and it's well, beloved. We must begin shutdown procedures.
No, Mother. We must begin again.
As you say that, there's kind of a tonk, skunk, skunk noise as you can see around you the big mechanisms pulling in, and you see 6 humans brought in these sort of tubes. Well, beloved, 6 tribes need Oryx.
And you must give them some.
We must give
These
them
tribes
some.
cannot die.
You begin to see the mechanisms working up. Machines coming together as a piece. Oryx. You see an enormous octopide-looking Oryx that grabs one of these humans and leaves this island. Another, a tiger, begins to... Oh, I went off my O's. An ocelot forms up. And you see it grab the human and incorporate it into its body as it leaps, moving up. We've got 4 more, but I'm running out of stuff. There is an otter, though. There's no doubt in my mind there's an otter that takes some of these humans off. Around you, though, the heat is getting higher, and things are collapsing around. Well, beloved, I cannot make the last mechanical. Will you take this tribe?
Yes. Yes, I will. I will leave this place, and I will leave this all behind.
That single human in its tube. You feel it slammed into you by the machinery. As the floor beneath you rises. Oh, and Al, you're right. As you're lifted up into the fire and the fury blasting out of the top of this volcano. And I think we're going to have just epilogues to finish out. I think we've got a neat thing to just epilogue out. And so I'm going to start with you, Lou. Epilogue out Mahalia. I'll end with you, Patrick, because I'm interested to see if you're dead or not, and I think that's a nice capper. So you can do that. Lou, what is the last we see of Mahalia? What is our epilogue for her?
Well, I think the last time we saw her, she was being borne into the air by the cloud, the nanobot cloud. So I think maybe when we flash to her epilogue, it's seconds after that happened, and she's still like shooting up into the air. She's like, a mile above the ground or something. And then, yeah, I think we just get the slow-mo, see her slowly falling to the ground. We probably get some really nice classical music, but I think she just I think my epilogue for her is she just slams into the ocean, and we see all the bubbles coming up, and the music's emanating from her, so we hear the music slowly fade away as she sinks into the water.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so pretty. Greg, what's the last? What's our epilogue out for Well Beloved?
I think we see Well Beloved and the human from the tube sort of washed up on a shore, and there's the slow waves, just like in the moon pool, as Well Beloved wakes up and begins to nudge the human and begins to explore the little bit of the island, and then we see a single one of the insects sort of crawl out of Well Beloved and fly onto the forehead of the human and then fly back. And we sort of, maybe there's a close up on the sand. Maybe there's this gentle sort of sound in the breeze of the trees. And then Well Beloved just starts to ooze water out, and the human collects it and drinks it and just sort of fades out from there.
Oh, that's lovely. Bravo. Airy. Chitin, what is our epilogue there?
The last thing we see of Chitin is sealed in these dark tunnels for who knows how long. There are banquets and ceremonial banquets being held to honor the god's last days in its mortal form, and then it's in its great frenzy of drug-induced euphoria, consigns its own body to its followers to feed on. And a new god is born not long later, maybe weeks, maybe months, a scintillating single insect that is held up by the high priest.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh, nice. Oh, that's so creepy and awesome.
Do you have any little world epilogue, Tyler, that you'd like to add in? Or are you happy
I might, but first we got to hear Patrick's epilogue for Kurtu.
So I think we see again that like last burning lava-y moment of Karku and the osprey come shooting down out of the sky, and his like elky bellow of rage that he was letting forth, it like in this last moment it like flattens and sort of distorts digitally and becomes like a sort of digital screech that like echoes through the wind, and we get a shot down to Well Beloved in that bunker. He's going through and he's setting off the different systems and making these 6 things, and I think there's the machinery that's putting together the mechanical otter, because fuck yeah, that's mine. Like there's we hear that like digital screech sort of come in, and its machinery like shakes and sparks for a moment, and as the otter is completed, it sits down and opens its eyes, and they have like the same black sparkle that Karku's eyes had, and he just gives his fur like a shake, and this cloud of dust comes up around him as he's given instructions by Mother and a new life, and dives off into the sea to protect a new people.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh god, that elky bellow is terrible. Oh my gracious, that was so cool. And so I think I will give my epilogue out as this volcano erupting and the cloud of it goes up. We see that kind of dip in perspective as we pull back from a screen. We see students in a classroom. They are human, but there are so many cybernetic implants on them that it's hard to really say they're fully human. We will always remember the sacrifices that got us here. Part of all of your curriculum is to remember we come from very strong stock. And it fades back out as we lift to a city of people. And that's our mechanical Oryx.
Yes.
That was so good.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
We're at 11. If people, I'm so bad about going over, but I'd love to have a quick here if folks have 10, 15 minutes. But I would love to take about 3 minutes so I can run to the restroom, take a bio break. So let's come back here in about 3. And if y'all are up for a little Rose and Thorns. For anybody who happens to be watching, Mechanical Oryx was phenomenal, I think. And again, it's something you could find in the Gauntlet fanzine, Codex. Amazing game. So, looks like we're getting most of our players back. Gang, I had a blast with this. I hope y'all did too.
That was amazing.
Y'all were so good. So very good. I would like to do a little roses and thorns on it. We'll start with thorns. Because I do these Codex-Files, which are, you know, taking stuff that we have in Codex and trying to get them out there and actually get them played. Because, you know, sometimes you write these smaller games and, you know, even like this one, which is a, you know, 200 RPG challenge winner, you wonder how often they get played. You know, a lot of people are putting them out there and you think, maybe they don't get that opportunity to get out on the table as often as they deserve to. So I was really happy to pull this one out. And written by Grant Howitt, I'll mention again. I did change it from what Grant envisioned, which I think was a one-on-one game, a GM and a player. I felt like it could go for multiple players. I wanted to try and do that. And I brought in that Maze Rats as the kind of backup system for it. I think it worked fairly well, but we'll get into all of that here when we go through Roses and Thorns. We're going to start with Thorns, and I'll do mine first. These are things that you might have, you know, having gone through it, said, you know, this may have been a little off, or I didn't think this worked as well as I hoped, or things I might have liked to have seen. And again, it could be system, it could be how I ran it, or it could be, you know, kind of you know, this didn't go exactly in narrative how I thought it should. That's all cool. And then we'll hit roses where we talk about the good things on it. I'll say Maze Rats. I like Maze Rats. I think it served dutifully for what it was supposed to do here. It is not a perfect system. And a thorn is, I don't think I gave as much weight to some of its parts as I probably should have. I probably should have used when y'all had picked up like your paths in it. Some of you took paths instead of having spells. Those would have been something I should have brought up more. I should have used those spells earlier. I wish I'd have gotten that out there more, because that's part of the system, and it's really, in my opinion, what makes it cool. Second thing I would say for a thorn is, I think that going into Oryx, you absolutely have to take it as a suggestion source and develop it more than what's here. Now, that's natural. It's a 200-word RPG. But there are a few little bits in it that don't quite work out, especially math-wise. That acting love, acting hate really skews the game in an odd way. But and I'll also say with what Lou said, I think we did a good house rule where we pushed those modules. I think otherwise, Lou may be right. The modules aren't as in danger as much as they should be. So there's kind of my thorns. Other than that, I'll always say that, I try and avoid not shifting the spotlight. If I didn't get to everyone like I should have, that would be a thorn. I hope everybody felt satisfied. So I'm going to ask for thorns out of folks going down. Ari, any thorns?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind is, I wish this was more than 2 sessions. I feel that we could have been you were forced to pace it a certain way because it's 2 sessions, and we could all feel that, like, we wish we could have done a little bit more. That's it, really. I mean, you were working with 2 different systems, and working those pedals to get them to work together. That's a lot. And then you were like managing the spotlight on top of that, and then trying to keep it compressed with the time you had. I think if you had a 3rd session with this, you could have been a little bit more relaxed with it.
I can see that. I hear you.
Yeah,
Greg. I'm sorry, Luke.
I'm just going to add a quick thought onto that. It felt a little bit in a fun way, like it was meant to be like a TV mini-series. And then they got told it got axed after the 1st episode, so they had to finish it off in which we did really well, I think. But anyway, sorry, Greg.
I hear that a lot of times. I do these codex in 2, and I hear folks say, it should have gone longer, and I always feel like a game should go longer. But if I'm not getting it where it's supposed to be, that's a thorn for me, because I should be able to run it in 2 sessions. But, I always want to keep going. I mean, with you guys, I would love to play this 100 times more. Y'all are amazing. So, Greg, any thorns you might have?
Yeah, no, I agree with the 2 sessions is maybe not quite enough thing. And I think, I want to frame all of my thorns in a, if we were to do this again kind of way, not things I would want to see. I think because spells are a maze rat mechanic, I would like to see that as part of the tribe, not necessarily part of the Oryx.
That's good.
Making a separation there might be interesting. I would at least want to see how that plays out. I don't know. I feel like some things could have gone to dice more often, or maybe not. I'm torn on that one a little bit myself. I really liked some of the moments when the dice really changed up some of the narrative or made us reevaluate. And there's some really beautiful moments when that happened. There's some really beautiful moments when we didn't use dice and we just stuck to the narrative. So maybe, and I think because we're playing with 2 different systems at the same time, that makes that more difficult to exactly know where that line is. A PBTA, there's definitely we say this part of the conversation, now we hit the dice. Playing with two systems, neither of which are that way, it kind of makes it a little bit more nebulous. So, you know, if we were to do this again, maybe a few more lines about where exactly the moves hit. That kind of thing.
I absolutely hear you there. I absolutely do. And I am going to run it for Gauntlet Con, by the way. I think I can make something for it in 4 hours, which doesn't go to our, oh, it should play longer, but I absolutely hear kind of go to the mechanic and let it, because a lot of our really cool things did come out of bad rolls. Lou, Thorn, sir?
Yeah, I was like, as we were playing, because I got so excited about the game, and I'd really like to interact with the ideas a little bit more, whether like that's by writing some fiction or something, or like,
it's so cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If you ever want to play around with it and turn it into an actual game, well, let me play with you. I can draw some pictures or
I would love that.
Because yeah, I was thinking about it a lot in that frame, like of it being an actual like game and how you would approach that, like in terms of the people. So I guess it's a thought for how we played it this time is that it will be cool to think of some really intelligent stats that represented, you know, a people and how you would do that instead of just using the maze rats, like basic, like the dexterity of the people. That's not really that interesting,
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But like I was trying to write ones down as we went, like even if it's just heart and mind or something like that sort of thing or whatever. But it would be a fun challenge to try work out how you do that, like represent, you know, because culture is such a complicated thing too, how you represent that in stats that it's probably some politically like something you'd have to be careful with, you know, in terms of not being offensive even maybe, like, yeah.
Thank you. I absolutely hear you on that. And yeah, I mean, I think it could, the nice thing hearing from that, because that's really great critique, is it could do other things. This has some legs to it. And so, you know, trying to make it into something else, you know, not just a Bill Grant's game, but, you know, it could do a lot of things. He made 200 words.
He's a pretty nice guy too. I'm sure if you wrote him a line and said, hey, I'll give you heaps of credit, can I steal this bit of your game to make a bigger thing? He'd be totally cool with it.
Grant, it's an awesome game, buddy.
Yeah, I've written to him a couple of times because I've run his games in my creative writing workshops, and I've kind of actually like just stolen the bits I like. Like I did Warrior Poets one time where you write like just, so I pretty much stole the world building bit and the poetry battles because I'm doing it with 8 and 9 year old like kids, but it was awesome. I just stole the bits that would work really well, and he responded in a really lovely way.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I hear you, and that was excellent critique. Thank you, wonderful Lord. Patrick, any thorns?
I'm really struggling to come up with thorns for this. So I'm sort of in a similar vein to other people of like I would definitely have loved to play in this world, or I think pretty much any world that would come out of this frame for longer. And I also think like it wouldn't take a lot of work to flatten the two systems together because they're already so similar, and a bit of the cognitive load, like processing time, came from deciding where we were going in one system or the other, exactly how we're doing it. But you know, the systems are so similar that just flattening them together, doing some things like Lou was saying of like changing some of the terminology to better reflect stuff, clarifying where you use certain things. But I thought they both brought so much to the table. It's just if I had to not do over, but to do next time, like I would love to get a more streamlined like mashup together of this to take forward.
I think that you and Lou have a point of, I think honestly just changing the names of the stats. would make them so much more applicable. Strength, dex, and will is not exactly the stats you want for this game.
Mm-hmm.
But you change it to something like persuasion and culture, and there are stats to put in there that would make this flow better and feel like you could pull them all in and use them all. So yeah, I absolutely hear you. I think that's a very good critique. Are you willing to start us off with roses, Patrick? We'll come back the other way.
Sure, everything, all of it, all things, all little parts of it. It was amazing. I don't know. There's something about the frame of this, something about that like weird future past mythological apocalyptic space that we were in, the ideas of bringing like a sadness and a decay to it, and also bringing in touchstones like I think especially black and white went a long way towards our particular world. Just all of it hit together into exactly what I wanted to see and exactly what I wanted to be doing right now. There were different points throughout when like everybody just made these heartbreakingly beautiful scenes or moments, or just even down to tiny little touches or descriptions that someone would throw in at the end of like somebody else's thing, where it's like, oh my god, that sealed everything, that brought it all together. I see it now in my head, like I want to see this shit on screen. There is too much good for me to distill down. This was amazing beyond my like wildest expectations of what this game could be.
Thank you. Lou, roses?
Yeah, this has definitely been maybe my favorite Gauntlet game so far. I really liked it. It was really, really fun. Yeah, it just hit lots of spots, him echoing what Patrick was saying. Yeah, I also just have special roses for Patrick in terms of the way that your Oryx was interacting with mine. It was just a really good example of like being a generous player, because you were still inventing really cool shit and then you were like gifting it like to me to play with. Do you know what I mean? Like gifting the horns and that saving my knowledge, like Nahalia's knowledge and that kind of stuff was really cool. It was interesting. I enjoyed the like how we kind of paired off a bit in order to develop stronger relationships. Like I liked how some of us ended up, like, yeah, I don't know. It's like that. It's just like a dinner party, I guess, where you can only have so many conversations like at once. Yeah, I really like that. Another little thing I was thinking about is that like I don't think it was luck, because I think you're really good at making games happen like this, Tyler. Like I'd say, I guess it's a rose for you, but I totally want, like, in terms of thinking about it as an existing game, I now kind of almost want it to be more rigid so that people have this experience that we had in some ways. Like there were some, because some of the things were just so great, like the communication stuff. Like, yeah, I think that that shaped so much of the way that we interacted with each other. And I wonder if you set the game up again without that, like if you would get such a rich experience because of having your people and the Oryx, and then that miscommunication and the way I think that was actually pretty an important part of how we played. Yeah, and then how we kind of split up, like one of us was like about helping us all to communicate, and one had access to this ancient knowledge and one had access to ancient machines. I started thinking of it as like almost little playbooks that you would give out to recreate this experience, which is, I don't know, like I'm sure there's other awesome, I guess you'd want to play test it like how we just did now a bunch of times. And, there's probably heaps of other cool stories you could tell with it, but I just want people to have fun playing in this sort of way that we did. Yeah, because it was so fun. I want other people to have that same fun.
This one was really sweet. I mean, this one, and again, what you're saying, those, so many wonderful keys turned in making this work well, what y'all did. Greg, roses?
Yeah, as everyone has said, everything. This was really awesome. Yeah, I agree with Lou. I think he said that this concept has legs. This and in a way, video games have totally abandoned the god genre, and that sort of two-level interaction thing, and definitely I agree that the creation of that there is a difficulty in having your people do something, and there's a difficulty in doing something all by yourself as an Oryx. That breakdown of communication really added in to the game itself. And you all are lovely, and we should play more games together.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah, no, and everyone was just absolutely giving, and you, Tyler, were absolutely amazing with every little question and every little tweak, and just building and presenting new challenges and new ideas every time, and taking something we made together and then twisting it back on us in a different way. It was lovely.
Thank you very much, and I hear you. Ari, roses.
Yeah, Tyler, you did not waste a moment. Like all of your framing was on point. Your pacing was on point. Your ability to move between characters and get like all the questions you asked. I don't think there were any questions that you asked that weren't relevant and driving us closer and closer towards the end of that second session. So that was really great. Greg, was this your first Gauntlet game?
Yeah. This is, well, technically my second session, first Gauntlet game. Yes. I
really enjoyed playing with you, and your
yes,
character,
Greg.
Well Beloved, was a perfect pair with mine. Like getting your character on shore and going up and having your own motivation for getting this meeting going, and there was a little bit of collision with my character, but it was really a good kind. I really enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed playing with you, so I'm going to give you that rose. I played with Patrick and Lou and Tyler before. These guys are all really great players and a lot of fun, but I want to especially give you that for your first time here.
Thank you. I really want to say that it's so much of, and I've seen it with other games I've watched on the Gauntlet. There's a particular, other tables, you get this sort of, if I'm being hostile to someone else's character, it sort of builds this animosity between the actual players, and that doesn't exist in the Gauntlet. It's beautiful.
Totally. Like I even told Patrick I wanted his character to die, and he handled it totally fine.
Yeah, I took that and I was like, that's not a bad idea. I think I'll do that.
Tyler, I have an idea. I don't know if this is even a good one. It just occurred to me. What would be interesting would be after you got the Oryx, right, and you got the maze rats thing, which is great. You could play that out. What you could do later is come back with only the maze rats and treat it as a dungeon scene where everything's like kind of like falling apart, and just kind of like you could even do a point crawl. Once you have all the pieces of everything that happened, you could use that, and like,
You got a point. I'll have to review it with that in mind. That's a neat idea.
The world building was really good. It always makes you want to go back.
Go back, yeah.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's this place like in 100 years from now with everything we established? It could be really fascinating. Or maybe it's good just to leave it in your mind and like enjoy that what if. Right?
Yeah, sometimes it's best to treat them as ephemeral like things, I guess, too. But yeah, when you've just had heaps of fun, you totally want to like, how else can we keep playing this game in a different way?
Absolutely. I'm going to give my rose first off, I have to agree. Greg, you were phenomenal in this. Everything you did, it was magnificent. I am so glad you're playing with the Gauntlet. I'm so proud that you were in this one for your first game. You're a rock star, buddy. You're going to enjoy the hell out of being in Gauntlet because you're such a good role player, and a lot of us really enjoy that. You know, you're a grand addition.
Thank you so much.
All of you, I really appreciate you leaning into kind of, like I say, first time an experiment, just to see how it worked. Hearing what y'all are talking about, it does seem like this is something that could be played with and worked with and made into something, you know. We had an amazing time. I had a great time in it. I would love to see this be shared more. And again, it's a game that I don't think probably is getting played very much. So I'd love to see something to keep building it and making it, you know, get some legs to it. I appreciated all of the feedback on it. That was so generously given and so relevant, so very good. All of you are such smart, you know, such smart gamers, so capable of giving great ideas, and I really appreciated hearing them all. I want to say that, you know, I think that Grant made an extremely evocative game in 200 words, and that's sort of a miracle. When I read it, I was like, I know there's something I can do with this, and that it amazes me he did it in 200 words. That's just brilliance. So huge roast to him. And finally, you know, Ari, you know I love playing with you all the time. You made such a phenomenal character. In the end, sort of creepy and awful. And that final scene of Take of My Body was awesome. It was so good. But all the way through, such a nice character. Greg, I've already just, you know, been powdering your ass, but I gotta tell you, that character was brilliant from beginning to end. Everything about it was so cool. I love the boat people concept. And then we got that wonderful pathos with the orca. Then we had you. You came up with my final thing. And it wasn't like I had imagined it was an Oryx factory at the bottom. You came up with that. That was what ended up being the end of our game. And that is so good in collaborative storytelling. And it was all you. Thank you so much for giving us our finale. Lou, I adore you all the time. And what you brought to that character was lovely. It was like the sweet sort of, you know, bard, cultural repository. And in the end, you were the I'm getting in your face and smashing you with my horns. I mean, it was so cool to see that progression of that character. Beautifully done. Absolutely gorgeously done. And Patrick, the characterization you did was so strong. I felt that sort of dusty agedness to it. The way that it, you know, how you brought up the idea of the ancient knowledge being the way we go forward was a counterpoint to other things, but it was also so rich in detail. It ended up informing so much. And when you came in there, and I was hoping for something to give you that last epilogue, and of course, grabbing hold of the otter and going forth. It was like, I couldn't imagine he's just dead. No. He's going out again. I thought that was really good.
You put an otter out there. What was I supposed to do?
I know. And finally, you guys, this story was very much yours. I had ideas and things I was doing, but all of the stuff flowed off of the ideas you had. And so, you know, I'm so pleased to have had such great collaborators so that we made a really, what I think was a pretty cool story. I hope it wrapped up well, but it felt very satisfying to me. So, thank you all so much for playing. And
that was so fun.
And so, we're going to end the broadcast. This was a Codex-Files with Gauntlet. We were doing Grant Hewitt's Mechanical Oryx from Codex-Neon. folks, go out there and read all the codex. They're all awesome. And we'll have another one probably in about 2 weeks. Thank you, guys, and bye, whoever happens to be watching this.